A few seconds later, this monk would be burned alive on iron nails. And this torture began with a moment of mercy after he had just defeated his opponent. He had no idea his mercy would become his enemy's deadliest weapon. The story begins with the Qing prince, Prince Dagulan, a nobleman whose obsession with martial arts had become twisted. His ambition was to collect every sect's secret manual in the world. To that end, he set a trap, a classic Hongmen banquet. It was called a martial arts exchange, but it was really coercion by force. He brought in the Western region's expert, the golden foil Dharma king, to act as his enforcer, to carry out the bloodiest tasks. The heads of every sect, cowed by his power, all showed up. They soon found the prince's gates sealed shut, one way in and no way out. One sect leader tried to force his way out. The golden foil Dharma king made his move. He flicked out the gold foil, which coiled around the target like a spirit snake. In the next instant, the foil tightened and the head was severed. That bloody show of force terrified everyone there. They had no choice but to hand over their sect's secret manuals. Only Wudong, Kunlun, and Shaolin refused to attend or surrender their manuals. This enraged Dagulan. He sent the golden foil Dharma king to wipe them out one by one. First stop, Wudong Mountain. The Dharma king demanded the Taiji Lianyi sword technique, but sect leader Gu flatly refused. When the two sides came to blows, the elderly sect leader Gu was defeated in just a few moves. His son, Gu Xiaohu, still had little training and was easily subdued as well. The Wudong disciples suffered heavy casualties. To save his son's life, sect leader Gu pretended to give in. He produced the manual, but demanded that the Dharma king release his son first. Bent on getting the manual, the Dharma king nodded his agreement. With tears in his eyes, Gu Xiaohu slipped out through the back door, but he had no idea his father had already laid a deadly trap. Once he knew his son was safe, Master Gu set the manual on the table ablaze. The Dharma king flew into a rage. With a single palm strike, he killed the sect leader, then smothered the flames. He opened it and found it was no sword manual. Inside were the great learning and the doctrine of the mean. The real manual had already been taken away by Gu Xiaohu. Realizing he had been duped, the Dharma king immediately led his men in pursuit. Exhausted, Gu Xiaohu fled into a ruined temple. The pursuers closed in, murderous intent written all over them. At the critical moment, a meditating monk in the temple made his move. With one hand, he seized 4 thugs at once, his strength astonishing. Knowing they were no match for him, they immediately sent word to the Dharma king. The monk was none other than Puhui, former Shaolin discipline hall master. After hearing what had happened to Xiaohu, he decided to step in. The gold leaf Dharma king arrived. Confident in his status, he tried to pressure Puhui into backing off, but was flatly refused. Talks collapsed, and they came to blows at once. The Dharma king's boxing was useless against the monk, who drove him back again and again. He switched to his weapon, and the gold leaf attacks turned fierce. But Puhui had already seen through his moves and dodged the attack with a backflip. Then, with both feet, he stomped the gold leaf to pieces. Deprived of his weapon, the Dharma king was no match for him and was sent sprawling by a kick. He immediately dropped to his knees and begged for mercy through tears. Puhui, compassionate by nature, believed he was truly repentant. The moment Puhui let his guard down, the Dharma king snatched up a shard of gold leaf from the ground. He suddenly hurled it at Puhui's face. Caught off guard, the monk was blinded by the flying shards. The tide turned, and the Vajra king used Puhui's life as leverage. Gu Xiaohu had no choice but to hand over the manual. Meanwhile, the Kunlun sect leader chose to strike first. Feigning surrender, he brought the sect's prized treasure to see Dagulan, planning to assassinate him. But he did not know the prince had already seen through everything. The weapons hidden beneath the throne were faster. A few moves were all it took to kill the sect leader. Now, only the most heavily guarded Shaolin temple remained. The undercover agents Dagulan sent had failed to get near the scripture pavilion for 3 years, so he decided to take matters into his own hands. He forged an imperial edict and pressured the abbot to hand over the manuals, but was still driven back by their resolve to die rather than yield. When brute force failed, Dagulan came up with a vicious scheme. He blinded one of his own eyes and disguised himself as a one-eyed monk on the run, putting on a pitiful act at Shaolin's gates. The Arhat Hall master took pity on him, saved him, and kept him at the temple. A prince above all others became a lowly sweeping monk. By day, he recited scriptures and worked. By night, he slipped into the scripture pavilion, and managed to steal 1 manual, but the other 3 were nowhere to be found. So he had no choice but to keep lying low. Meanwhile, Gu Xiaohu stayed in the mountains to care for the blind Puhui. The monk passed on all he had learned in his lifetime, and Xiaohu's skills improved by leaps and bounds. When he spotted one of Dagulan's men disguised as a monk in town, he followed him all the way. In a cave in the woods, he overheard the prince's full plan to infiltrate Shaolin. Xiaohu flew into a rage, killed 3 fake monks, but 1 got away. He immediately reported back to Puhui. Knowing how serious the matter was, the monk gave him his rosary as a token, and sent him at once to Shaolin to deliver the warning. However, the Shaolin abbot did not believe Xiaohu. Dagulan's performance was flawless. He played an unarmed, pitiful man, and no matter how Xiaohu hit or cursed him, he never fought back, instead winning everyone's sympathy. Xiaohu led people to the underground cave to check the evidence, but the traces had already been wiped clean. He was dismissed as a troublemaker. The risk of the plan being exposed made Dagulin resolve to eliminate all future trouble. He ordered the golden foil Dharma King to eliminate Puhuwei. That's how the opening scene came about. The Dharma King used a trick to steal the monk's shoes and laid a bed of nails at the doorway, then set fire to force him outside. Puhuwei sensed the trap, but there was no way back. As soon as he stepped out, the hidden thug shoved him onto the bed of nails. His feet were pierced, and he could no longer move. He sat cross-legged, chanting sutras as he passed away in the flames. When Xiaowu rushed back, he found only ruins and his master's charred remains nailed to the board. He buried his master and returned to Shaolin with the relics. This time, he meant to carve out a path with force. He defeated 6 monks in a row, then charged alone into the 18 Arhats formation. In the fierce fight, he dropped Puhuwei's relics. The token proved everything, and the abbot finally believed him. But just then, they discovered that the one-eyed monk who had been punished to face the wall had vanished. Everyone rushed to the main hall, only to find Dagulin had already taken the abbot hostage, and revealed his true colors. He demanded that Shaolin hand over the I Jin Jing, the Arhat formation, and the mighty Vajra finger, 3 secret manuals, in exchange for the abbot's life. Xiaowu charged alone toward the prince's residence. Shaolin Temple also sent 9 masters to help. The two sides faced off at the prince's manor. Once Dagulin got the manual, he immediately turned on them and ordered everyone slain. Xiaowu took on the golden foil Dharma King and was briefly at a disadvantage. At the critical moment, the dragon-subduing venerable stepped in. His martial arts had reached perfection. With a flying kick, he sent the Dharma King flying. Then one downward strike finished off the villainous Lama for good. Seeing his right-hand man killed, Dagulin joined the fight himself, though he had mastered the martial arts of many schools, before the dragon-subduing and tiger-taming venerables, he could still only take blows. Seeing the tide turn against him, he tried to use the abbot as leverage again, but the abbot refused to become a burden. He resolutely smashed his head against a pillar and took his own life. With no more restraints, the Shaolin masters attacked with full force. The dragon-subduing venerable locked Dagulin in place with his legs, while the tiger-taming venerable drew back both fists for a crushing blow to his abdomen. Then another flying kick sent this martial-obsessed prince to the underworld. With revenge exacted, the turmoil in the martial world finally came to an end.